Welcome to Unscripted Coding. Today we're going to do a very short introduction and explainer into what Langchain is. Now, if you haven't heard of it, I'm not too surprised. Everyone's talking about AI right now, and you might have heard, OpenAI, GPT, you better have heard of them, but also Llama, Claude, Anthropic, other of these models. But Langchain is a library, both in Python and JavaScript, that extends the usability, that gives more features to these models that everybody's talking about. And so today we're going to explain and go through some of the documentation about what Langchain can do and why it is so ubiquitous among a lot of AI startups, a lot of AI applications. In short, Langchain deals with a lot of these tricky questions about storage, about connecting it with different apps, and connecting AI models to other texts, to their history, giving it memory. These features that don't come with the AI model. And Langchain's really great because it's done well, but it is agnostic to different models. You can plug in different models, you can interact with different tools, you can engage with it in different ways. So it's really a catch-all library that can extend your AI model quite significantly. So you may not have heard of Langchain, but if you're using any kind of paid AI tool, there's a good chance Langchain is somewhere in the back end. Just scrolling through here, but there's a good explainer through the pages, but what I found is that I actually didn't know all that much about Langchain. I've heard about it, and here and there I keep thinking it's like a chain. It gives you the ability to chain multiple AI tasks together. And that's certainly one use case for Langchain, to maybe not have a chatbot, but have it conduct multiple rounds of AI usage, AI functions. So I could ask it to write an email and then correct it and then change it and then send it out, like multiple chains. But it's so much more than that. And that's why when I started looking through what Langchain can actually do, it gets the juices flowing, and you start thinking about all the different use cases. So more or less, you want to go into the docs. And the introduction is actually quite good if you're willing to click through each of the links. And that's why I think I haven't seen a really good explainer, and that's why I'm trying to do one now. Langchain has a number of modules here, and I count 6. And these are the ones that you want to click through and just do a quick read as to what you can do. So we're going to go through each of these, and I will zoom in for readability. And the very first one is the most obvious. Langchain allows you to manage your models very easily. So right now, I have, for example, I build GPT and OpenAI tools quite often, and I switch between GPT 3.5 and 4 because of the massive cost difference. If you don't know, GPT 4 costs something like 15 times a GPT 3.5 prompt. So you want to be smart about that decision. Do you want to use the expensive model or the cheaper model? Do you want to use something that has nothing to do with OpenAI? And you can do this manually, but one of the easy things that Langchain can do is to very quickly swap out which models you want, and has some building blocks as to what model is the best choice. So here it's looking at which prompt do you want to submit, what do you want, which model do you want. So it has a bit of this clever dynamic, and so far I've been doing it manually because my tools are so simple. I ask the same things over and over, but if you want to build a really smart bot, you want to manage it properly, being able to switch different prompt templates, being able to switch to different models, being able to move from OpenAI to an entirely different company or an entirely different model is also really powerful. And I think this one is pretty self-explanatory. Now, the other thing that's really useful that you see a bit of offered in different ways is this idea of retrieval. So right now, if you have chat-gpt open, you can interact with the model and you could say, tell me a joke, have a conversation with me. The AI doesn't have to do a whole lot to come up with an answer because there are so many correct answers. Tell me a joke, it can kind of figure out whatever it's found recently, whatever it wants. If you want to pick a name, thousands, millions of correct responses are fine. But if you're starting to use AI at a business or enterprise level, chances are you have much more of a shorter, smaller requirement. So you want to go into your document library. You want to be able to find the right document and pull that out. Now, a more challenging example of that is, of course, accessing the internet, crawling through Google, figuring out which web page has the right content, serving that content to you, modifying it, summarizing it, whatever. But let's say you have a business, you have 10 product descriptions. AI, a lot of uses of AI is fetching the right product description, transforming it somehow, and serving that up to your end user. AI can't make that up. It shouldn't be creative about that. It should be looking at the right document. And this is where retrieval comes in, that it's able to load documents, in this case, different types of documents from different locations, and being able to put it in a way that your AI can access. These are simple challenges that happen over and over. So for example, this is a simple one, HTML, PDF, do you OCR it? Do you need to transform it somehow? How do you get the plain text out of it? I have been doing this by hand, basically looking for other solutions and creating my own solutions to get plain text out. And I was very excited to see Langchain have a built-in one, connecting to different locations. So these are all very, very useful tools, and it gets more and more technical. So once you get the text, what do you do with it? You need to do embeddings. That way the model can determine what is the accurate, what is the closest document, what is a good document for it to actually look at and serve. Other solutions do provide their own services as well. So for example, OpenAI has their own embedding service. And in a previous video, we were looking at Azure Bring Your Own Data. Those are basically retrieval. And if you remember from my previous videos, I was very excited about them. And so being able to have that is agnostic, I don't have to use OpenAI, I don't have to use Azure, is a big, big plus. Okay, these are going to get a bit more complicated now. Chains. This is why I was describing before. Being able to take multiple steps, basically. Now, you can have a very simple AI. Please give me a random name for a character. Not a lot of steps involved. It just gives you the answer. But if you're trying to make a multi-step AI, chatbot is a great example. That makes a lot of sense, but something a bit more controlled. So find me the right document, translate it, and then summarize it. Those are multi-step tools, and the chains allows you to be able to orchestrate that. So one way you might build this is just give the user a chatbot. That will give them a bit of freedom. But if you want to constrain it a bit and orchestrate what their path should be, this is a great way to do it. Another one, agents. This is one where I want to play a lot more with. Agents was really popular. There was AutoGPT, GPT Engineer. We've seen a few videos. We've done a few videos on it where an AI bot, a chatbot or a model, is able to be assigned a role and to pursue tasks based on that goal and objective. Langchain seems to be able to have that built in. Now, admittedly, I haven't played around with it, but you can see that you could give it a prompt that gives it a personality, some background context, and some strategies for it to pursue its goals. So if you've looked at, say, AutoGPT, you can send an agent out into the internet, and I say send in the loosest sense of the word, but you can ask an AI agent to go out there and conduct some research for you. And in AutoGPT's case, it actually spins up multiple agents. One AI will plan out how they want to search, find the right Google keywords, for example. One is going to ask questions. One is actually going to go into onto Google, find the text, read it, summarize it, determine whether it's relevant or not. And so agent, it looks like, is combined with chains. It gives a bit more autonomy. It gives a bit more ability for the AI to conduct itself, to make, I don't want to say make decisions, but to go ahead and build its own next steps. So this is one in which I want to play around with, but I just haven't seen really well executed agents yet. There's a lot of these really interesting use cases that are flawed but really exciting to look at. So not quite there yet. Okay, last two. Memory. Memory is quite simple. Some of these chatbots, for example, you want to be able to go back into the conversation. Now, if you're building a chatbot, the way I've done it is you're just storing the last 10 or 20 and you're serving it all up at once. So, hello, and then the chatbot responded, good day to you, and then I responded, can you help me? Those three messages, you can load it all in one text, and then it'll continue the conversation, and you're just deleting the last one every time. That's a very naive, crappy way of doing it. That's the way I'm doing it. But the memory portion allows you to log the history of your text. And very much similar to the retrieval module, memory is able to then recall what is relevant. So, for example, if at some point I say, I like eating donuts in that somewhere very early in the chat, it's stored it somewhere, and it put a keyword of donuts, let's say. Memory is going to keep that conversation going when it goes to, say, 10 pages down, long conversation, and I mention, hey, you want to go out for donuts. It's going to search a retrieval somehow and realize, hey, there might be relevant information before when I said I like donuts because of that keyword. And so memory is very much a retrieval function, but it is retrieving itself, the same conversation or the same earlier tasks you've done. It's just keeping it and making it available through indexing. So there's no way you can continually have, let's say a 1-year conversation and have it all go through ChatGPT for it to process. It needs that memory. Last one, I don't really care about that much. It's more for the developer, aka us, I guess, but being able to figure out along this chain, along the steps, what's happening, being able to log, throw errors, things like that, figuring out where you are in that chain is going to be helpful, but not exciting for this kind of explainer. Now, I wanted to go through the fact that these guys have use cases in in their documentation. So you can go in and take a look. And I saw, for example, question answering. This is one we've talked about in the past. And there is a great kind of step-by-step guide of how you might want to do this. And what's really beautiful is that you can look at this and say, I want to use a different data store. I don't want to use Google Cloud anymore, or Azure, which we've looked at before. I want to start using Amazon S3 storage. It's really interesting, and they lay it out step by step. And these are actually all useful, relevant use cases. So we've talked about a lot of this already, about summarization, chatbots. We've done web scraping, albeit not AI. And so these are all useful use cases. But I think the most exciting part when I was going through this documentation is if you go through, not the use cases, but you go through agents, you're going to find tools. And this is hidden away, and this is the frustrating part about documentation, is that you got to go and read, and you actually have to figure things out. Suppose you can, in the future, ask AI about it, but hidden away in the agents is this idea of tools. You have agents that have the ability to do things, but tools are actually what connects them to other things. And so if you want to see a full list of tools, you click in here and you start, well, I pulled it out here. So if we look at integrations, you're going to see all the tools available. And this is where it's very, very interesting. Because of course, one of the most important things for AI, in my opinion, is being able to access the internet. So being able to do a Bing search, DuckDuckGo search, and there should be a Google search here, gives so much more power to all of your applications. Being able to go in to Google and search for the latest information. But if you go through this, there are so many connections here. Now, it's not an endless list, but these things all kind of jump in and start giving you ideas of what you can do. So Zapier, being able to automate tasks. So I keep thinking home automation, being able to have AI interact with it, being able to say every time you get an email and then you want to go into your home automation. Lots and lots of ways to use Zapier, especially for businesses. When you get an email, it goes into Excel, and then you have some sort of AI in between to transform that data. You look at Wikipedia, YouTube. These are quite obvious. What I found interesting is the ability to use chat-gpt plugins. So chat-gpt has a much wider library of plugins, ranging from travel, which I can't remember what company, to recipes and so on. So suddenly this blows up to a much larger list again. I found image generator interesting. We could do that fairly easily before. But if you look at Google Places, Google Drive, so that's accessing maps. I don't think that's maps, but being able to access data about restaurants, schools, and so on. Being able to go into your Google Drive, again, into the storage, very useful. These are all really interesting. Twilio, so you can start sending things in and out. But there's also a couple that are being able to have the person interacting with Langchain add something to a discussion. So you can have an agent do half the work, and then you can finish it off as yourself. And requests, I didn't see this before, but I think this must be a standard Python request. So I could build, and we've built APIs on this channel, something very specific to us. So if I have a business that sells baked donuts, I have some sort of API that can tell what inventory I have at any time, being able to connect through requests is huge. And so going through this list, I think it's just really cool. And I haven't even gone through all of this yet. Lambda is a serverless function. I have no clue what Alpha Vantage is. But long story short, I severely misjudged Langchain because I originally thought of it as basically an orchestrator being able to chain multiple AI tasks in one. And so all this time, I've ignored Langchain to my peril. I have rebuilt some of the things they've built really poorly on my end, and now I'm just looking at this list of tools, thinking about all of the cool apps I could possibly build. I don't know. If you don't get excited by this, I don't know what will, because you're on the cusp of AI. You suddenly have so much possibility because of this one simple library. Anyways, we are going to explore Langchain again. So I'm going to do another video and possibly many more videos building things with Langchain. One of the first things I wanted to do is just build out the question answering, see how it compares to Microsoft Bring Your Own Data. But we're going to play around with so many of these things, I'm sure. So please subscribe, check out my channel, and we're going to keep building things week by week. Thanks for watching. Bye.